So at the time of recording this video, we've had 7 games that have been completed for this second game week, and well, it's been a very eventful and more entertaining game week in comparison to game week one. Certainly, been a game week filled with a lot of goals. There have been a few surprising results and questionable decisions that we will get on to later. But let's start off with the first game. Everton was West Brom. Everton had a very comfortable game. They beat West Brom by 5 goals to 2. And that was followed by another 7 goal game between Leeds versus Fulham, where Leeds triumphed Fulham by 4 goals to 3. And then coming to the third game, which was quite a shock in my opinion, and something that I don't know what Shashank or VK will be saying about this game. It was between Manchester United and Crystal Palace. Crystal Palace beat Manchester United by 3 goals to 1, and that game was followed by Arsenal versus West Ham. Arsenal scraped through, in my opinion. It was very scrappy, but then somehow Arsenal managed to pull through. Then comes on to the fixtures for Sunday. The first game on Sunday was between Southampton and Spurs. Spurs, emphatic victory. They managed to overturn a 1-0 deficit and run out winners by 5 goals to 2. Brighton had a very comfortable game against Newcastle. They beat Newcastle by 3 goals to 0. And the last game, which I had a lot of hopes for. I hoped it would be a high scoring thriller like how it was last year, but unfortunately that wasn't the case. Liverpool beat 10-man Chelsea by 2 goals to 0. So in this segment, we'll be focusing on 2 particular fixtures. Let's start off with the surprise and the shocking result of Manchester United versus Crystal Palace, where Crystal Palace, again, like I stated before, they beat Manchester United by 3 goals to 1. Shashank, you've always voiced your opinions and your frustrations about how United play. And this was the first game, and usually like you see teams stepping up and like showcasing the fans what they've been missing out for like the 1 month, or at least they try to do the best. But that wasn't the case. United were like, I don't know, they were spineless. They had no passion. This wasn't a United that I remember, at least like 5 or 4 years ago. What was your takeaway from this game?
Yeah, this was really tough to watch this game. It was actually torture to watch this game as a United fan. It's usually the first game of the season is when the fans are excited, want to watch a good game so that you can have hopes for the rest of the season. But it was absolutely not that. It was the other way around. It looked like, first of all, I don't want to go too hard on United because I understand maybe the players, some of them went to the international fixtures. Some of them were here, but they just played one warm-up game. And as Ollie mentioned, I think Crystal Palace have already played about 5 to 6 games in the last, say, 2-3 weeks. So it was very obvious that Crystal Palace were way fitter. They were way more in shape, and also their defensive system and their attacking system was really, really good, very well managed, which was not the case for United. But I want to just begin with a crucial mistake that Ollie made. I just want to quickly run down to the right-hand side of all traditional top 6 teams until this game week, and possible right-hand players. So, for example, Arsenal, they played Bellerin and Willian. Spurs played Doherty and Moura for this week, but it could be Doherty and Bale going forward. Chelsea played James and Havertz. Liverpool played Trent Alexander-Arnold and Salah. City usually play Walker and someone amazing in that front three. United played Timothy Forza and Daniel James. These guys are nothing against them, but they're not even championship level players. So they cannot be starting for a United team in the new Premier League season, where we're hoping to finish, say, at least second. That could be an improvement from what they did last year. But if all he's going to think that he's, like Sir Alex making these, Sir Alex used to play Fabio and Rafael and everybody and get a result, it's not going to work out. It's not going to work out because Ollie, first of all, is not the manager that Sir Alex is. And secondly, these players don't have quality. They cannot play. I don't want to see Fosu Mensah or Daniel James starting another Premier League game ever. And the other thing is these players don't look fit. So I'm just going to wait a few more weeks, watch the 2 to 3 games if they can, improve their fitness and then see where it goes. But I just don't want to see that right hand side for United ever again.
Yeah, you brought up this very valid point about like Ole admitting that Crystal Palace were more fitter and much sharper. But don't you think when as a manager that you see when the other team is sharper and fitter, that you get out a team that can actually put up a challenge or be on an equal footing to that team, because this team that he had was his usual his first 11 that he always played last year pretty much, but then and you, but then they were not up for the challenge. So going into the second game, they're going at a like at psychologically they're going at a lower level. They're coming back off a defeat, and if the second game is also poor, or if they are held to a draw or a defeat, that can set the mood for the rest of the season. And should their transfers also
No,
not
I
take
understand.
place, should their targets do not come in, that's also going to make it even worse. Like the dressing room, the atmosphere is going to change. And right now, there's no that they do not have that winning mentality at all. Don't you agree that that's the
Yeah,
case?
absolutely. 100%, and it's like deja vu to a couple of seasons back when Mourinho wanted a centre back and Woodward did not get him one, and then that season crumbled within the first 3 games. So it was really bad. But I want to just cut some slack because United haven't lost a Premier League game since like January. So this is the first one that they lost since January. So and I understand why they lost it because these players were not together. They trained for a few days. So I'm just going to give some time and see what happens.
Okay. VK, coming to you, there was some questionable decisions during the game, particularly that involved VAR. I think we have to talk about VAR, given that we call ourselves bench varmers. The second goal for Crystal Palace that involved Lindelof's hand, and then the eventual retake because De Gea actually stepped over the line while the penalty was taken. Which one of the two decisions do you think, or do you think both decisions should have been upheld, or do you think one or two shouldn't have been upheld?
No, so actually, I think the De Gea decision is right in a way because if you actually look at it, he saved something that was far towards the corner and not something close to his body. So I think each inch always matters, and in the milliseconds that you take into account, the it's a harsh one, but it's the right one, and you have to go by it. But the penalty being awarded, that is the worst decision ever. I've actually gone across. I've seen on Twitter. I've seen a few highlights. I watched a couple of United fan channels. I can't see where one person agrees with where okay, let's just accept it's a foul, let's move on. No, that's not a foul. And that's the problem right now with the football rules and with VAR coming into play. They're going blindly by the rules where it's written everywhere. You cannot do that. There are certain things that need to be taken into account. You need to consider those external factors. The one thing that I like to say at this point of time is we need somebody like Sully. Have you seen that movie where they try to railroad him and he says, let's get serious and can you give some human reaction, bring the human context into the picture? So that's what VAR needs right now. A little bit of human assistance and not a complete overhaul where the humans who are there just take control and make the decision that needs to be made. But I don't think it's going to happen. So as long as we are here, VAR is going to be there. Let's just stick around and hope that it does good for the United team.
My only concern is that like the VAR is not consistent. Like if you guys saw the whole Arsenal West Ham match too, West Ham should have been awarded a penalty for that handball by Gabriel. So for me, the whole thing is that it should be consistent throughout. Like you give a decision for a United game, why don't you do the same thing? Because it's the exact same officials at Stockley Park looking at each game after giving decisions throughout the game week. So for me, it's like okay, you make a rule, you make a decision, keep it consistent. So same way as Kepa's penalty to be retaken, even a couple of years ago, I think I don't even know last year, like we had the same thing against Liverpool and against United as well, where the goalkeeper was off the line and we didn't get another retake. So those things needs to be consistent. I don't really care if there is a rule like that because you know what, a rule is going to apply to everybody. Rules change. Football is going to change. We are all like the way we adapt to football is going to change year in year out. So for me, the thing is, it just has to be consistent. I don't really care how the rules change. So that's my only concern about whole war.
Yeah, very insightful takes on VAR and the need for it to change. Now moving on to the next game, Liverpool versus Chelsea. Like I stated earlier, I had a lot of hopes for this game. I wanted it to be another like a seven or eight goal thriller that it was last year, but then unfortunately that wasn't the case. What do you think actually shifted the dynamics of the game, like towards Liverpool, Gautam?
So I think we started off really well. We were in good shape. Like there was a lot of discipline, the way we were defending, the way the team was set up. Like Liverpool did not have any clear chances. In fact, I felt like we had better threats on the other side of the goal. But the only thing that was a big concern for me is that, like, the ability to handle this high pressure press by Liverpool. So it's very hard actually for any team to actually put up with that because, they're constantly pressing you. And this eventually led to significant number of individual mistakes to start off with Christensen. He kind of changed I mean, of course, that's a clear, blatant red card. He That kind of changed the entire dynamic of the game. And then, like, of course, we were going into second half with a numerical disadvantage. And then to begin with, like, of course, we need a different goalkeeper. As much as how we Kepa did do a couple of good saves today, but I feel like his confidence is bloodshot, and he needs a different team more than anybody else. It's a win-win situation for the player as well as the team.
All right.
So as good as quality he is, expensive signing, I know, but then it's about time that we make that change in our backline and move on from there. And of course, one more thing that actually concerns me is the fact that why Lampard does not play enough of his wingers. Because Havertz is not really a natural winger. Play him through the middle, drop. And the thing is, out of the three players, Jorginho, Kante, and Kovacic, I think he needs to make a sacrifice on one of them to actually play an outright winger, because at the end of the day, they're just doing peripheral sideway passes, and that's about it. So, in order for us to actually get into this whole attacking zone, if you see, since he introduced Barkley and Abraham, we did see the dynamic change. We did see there was more fluidity, specifically in terms of how we were going to attack, because you just had this one attacking midfielder. So that's the only thing. For me, the thing is get your wingers more involved. Get Hudson-Odoi. I mean, of course, once. And also, one on the bright side, like a lot of players who we signed, as well as players who are part of our squad, are still injured. So I'm hoping that we have better weeks progressing forward.
All right. All right. Coming to you, looking at Liverpool, Chelsea, Manchester United, and Crystal Palace, and comparing them to Arsenal, where do you think we would stand in the midst of these four clubs? Do you think because we've like Arsenal have managed to beat Liverpool and Chelsea, of course, like a couple of months back. Manchester United they are not the same level that they were earlier, but Crystal Palace have always been the thorn in our side. We've lost to them at home 3-2. And I think away from home, we were for a 2-2 draw. And Crystal Palace also, they do not look like the Crystal Palace of old. They seem to be more attacking now. And they're not the defensive, low block team. They've yeah, like Zaha seemed revitalized. He seems to be rejuvenated. And that seems to be like carrying on throughout the team. So, what is your take away on these four clubs, and where do you think, how much of a challenge do you think they'll be for Arsenal?
Um, to be honest, I don't think we are there yet to compete. Or to actually think about competing with the top four. I mean, at least with the likes of City and Liverpool. I'm not talking about United. I'm not considering United as a top four over here. But then, in all honesty, I think when Chelsea sort of have their team in place, I think defensively they're a bit fragile at the moment. Yes, but I think when they sort of have the structure on paper, at least they can be a good team. And yes, there is a sort of gulf and gap in quality of the players that they've got. Especially with Arsenal, if you notice yesterday, the game we sort of had a lot of misplaced passes. They weren't stringing the passes together as much as possible. And if you sort of watch the Leeds versus Fulham game as well, I'm more convinced that the first game week fixture was a bit more of an easy picture than it actually sounds like, to be honest, because Fulham were defensively all over the place, and there was so much gap. And then, because that's where players like Saka and El Neni and all of them could pick out places, pick out the passes, and all of it. Yesterday's game, West Ham were actually properly tightly packed, and we were actually struggling to string a couple of passes together and get it moving. Willian was not having the space that he had in the first game. Xhaka had like quite a few missed passes, and I do really like Xhaka, so don't get me wrong over here. But my main concern was holding at the back, and then Bellerin, the right flank is looking very weak. All our attacks, if you notice, entirety of Arsenal attack was through the left wing. If you notice, it's been the case, and I really hope that we don't get found out through it, because if you notice, most of our attacks are going down the left wing, the left flank. I really think we need to do something about the right flank as well. And I really, it might sound a bit, off the place, but I really hope Pepe gets on firing and we really get moving on the right flank as well. Hopefully coming soon into the place. And we need another midfielder if you think about it. I'd really like Owa to come into Arsenal, and I think that deal is about to be closed as well, from judging by whatever Twitter's reaction.
Yeah.
So I'm touch wood, but then yes, I really do hope when that comes in, when that clicks in, hopefully the midfield dynamics will be better, and we'll probably move the ball around a bit faster and see where it's going.
Special thanks to you, Wab, for taking the time to be part of this episode. I hope you will be part of our podcast coming in the future. Thanks to our audience. You can watch any video of ours or any recording on YouTube, and of course the audio files for the recordings will be available on Anchor. The link for the Anchor will be given in the description below. Thank you to my fellow Warmers. I know it's been a very difficult week for all three of you guys. Next week, who knows, it might be difficult for me while you guys are having fun. But because Arsenal are taking on
I'm pretty sure it's going to be difficult next week.
Yes, yeah. I think I might be very busy next week, so I think I'll be but let's see what the case is. Well, thank you guys once again. It was very nice talking to you all. Take care, stay safe, and peace out.
Take care.
Boys.